Thank you for joining us, everyone, for another episode of Live by Heart
Today
with your hosts, Dawn Spiegelberg and Wendy R. Wolf.
Hello and welcome to the Live by Heart Today show number 15. This is a show designed to help you navigate change, uncertainty, and the new world we found ourselves in. We'll talk a little bit about science, a little bit about how our body works, a little bit about intuition, and we'll talk a lot about transformation. Our theme for today is exercise choice. With me for today's Heart to Heart is my co-host, Wendy R. Wolf, Professional Transformation Facilitator.
Hey, Dawn. This is the episode. This is the turn I'm so excited about. So we've been talking about relationships. In the last couple, we talked about storming relationships. We talked about weathering relationships. Relationships can be tough and how we need them more now, more than ever, I believe. But the big question, the $24,000 question is how? How do we do these things? How do we handle when things are so hard? And so I'm very excited. The next couple episodes, we're going to be talking about what I think is most fundamental with being who we mean to be and doing what we want to do in the world, having what we want to have, which is exercising our choice. And it's being able to be the captain of our lives. So hooray for that.
That's beautiful. When we talk about exercising our choices, we all kind of have a big global idea of that, right? Because we decide if we're going to get married and then who we're going to marry, which isn't true in every culture, right? But we get that choice.
Yeah.
We get to decide to leave house when we're old enough, right? And take the next step. And not every culture has that option.
Mm-hmm.
So when we think about that idea of making a choice, there are big choices that I think we take for granted here in our country. And when we talk about exercising choice in relationship, there are some nuances we've been talking about, right? There are some things that we don't actually believe we have a choice in. And it's not just as simple as chocolate or vanilla, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's much more complex than that. And I'm excited to talk about it because a lot of us, including me in my past, I didn't realize I had a choice in some things, right? I didn't realize that I can make a choice every moment.
Yes.
And we've been talking a lot about neutrality. So of course, if I'm not living in neutrality, then I'm living in the subjective world where I've limited what I believe are my choices.
Yes.
So being neutral opens up an entire new world of choice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And a comfortable place to be able to make that choice. Like I don't have to be like this or that, or a certain thing that happens doesn't have to bowl me over. So that's really awesome. And this goes in the category for me of, like, for me, it always, like, for so much of my life, for so many things that happened inside me in the world, it was like, it just all felt like it was happening to me. It was just all happening to me.
Ooh, good
instead
point.
of me happening to it.
Yes.
Right. And this is, it goes in the category of what I talk about victim, which is not a judgment, and it's not a place we have to live, but many of us do. And many of us, it's so subtle. There's all these subtleties. And that's some of what we're going to be teasing out is, can we start to have choice?
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because when we think about things happening to us, it doesn't seem like there's any other choice. Because I'll give an example. The water flooded in my bathroom, right? The water flooded again in my bath, right? These things seem like they keep happening to me, but we have a choice. And I might not have a choice in something like the age of my water pipes, right? Like I don't choose the age of my water pipes, but when my house floods the first time, I can choose to sit down and cry, right? Or I can start mopping. And then when the second time it happens, I can choose to sit down and cry, or I can, right, call the plumber. And I don't think we realize that we have a choice in every moment. And so you kind of made fun of me when I was talking about water, because the perspective that I took when my bathroom kept flooding multiple times was, why is water so attracted to me that it's coming out of the pipes, right? And I really embraced that idea, like, okay, what water is going to come toward me next that just can't help being toward me? And you're so funny because you said, but what if it's just happening, right? Like, what if it's just because your pipes are just that old that things are not working properly? And I kind of like the idea, actually, that no, the water was attracted to me and it just couldn't stop, leaving its natural pathways to fill the space between me and it.
That's awesome.
Anyway.
I just want to side and say that there's just this such funny picture that I love by the guy who wrote Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, Douglas Adams.
Douglas Adams. He wrote a different series set in Britain, and it wasn't as good, but he had this incredible paradigm, which this guy is the rain god, and he doesn't know it. So he spends his life, everywhere he goes, it's raining. Everywhere he goes, it's raining. The rain goes with him. But he doesn't know he's the rain god, so he doesn't get to enjoy it at all. It's just he has to live in rain.
Right.
Yeah, and that's so much like us. It's such a great mirror. It's like wherever I go, there I am. Wherever I go, it's the same experiences I'm always having, even though it's coming with me. And I don't realize that. And that's some of what we're talking about here. We actually have a choice to say, if I was the rain god, all right, you guys, I'm going to Hawaii, you stay here. I mean, there's all these choices. Right. But instead, he just lives his life unconsciously in the rain.
Yeah, and he was always wet, and he was always seeing other people dry, right? And then wondering, why am I always wet? Well, I want to go over there to the dry, and then he'd get everyone else wet, right?
Yes. I mean, it's so hilarious, and it's such a good mirror.
Yeah, that reminds me, one of my mentors would mention that if you look at your life, right, if you look at sort of the stream of problems that you've had, they have a commonality. I remember standing at my kitchen sink at one point, and my oldest son was just a toddler, like 2 years old, and he came up behind me and he punched me, right? And it was such a shock, right? Why is my 2-year-old punching me? I didn't teach him to punch, but it brought up the memory, right, of my older brother and my younger brother, right? They were punching me when I was growing up. And I sort of felt like, there were some other situations, like at college where I wasn't physically punched, right? But things people would say would feel like punches. Yeah. And so while I'm standing there doing the dishes, right, and I'm sore from the punch, I think to myself, what do all these have in common? And the only thing I came up with was me, right? Like I was the one feeling punched or getting punched. And I realized, wow, okay, how do I change this? How do I change my perception that I keep getting punched? And at that point, so that was 13 years ago, I didn't know what to do, but I did change something, right? I changed feeling bad about it. I changed being surprised by it, right? Anytime it happened again, I was just like, oh, there's my pattern again. That's interesting. It's still here. Now I know what it is. It's me. It's not them.
Yeah.
That was a change for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're talking about things that people aren't aware that can be changed. And so I just feel like it's so important to realize, like I talk to people and it's like all these things from the outside and the inside are just happening to me and there's nothing I can do about it except suffer. So I'm having these emotions, and I can't do anything about it. And I'm having these thoughts and I can't do anything about it. And people are punching me and I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And that isn't the way it has to be. And so just recognizing maybe I have more choice than I knew I had.
Mm-hmm.
is so important. And for me, that just keeps growing. How much choice I have just keeps expanding, which is very exciting.
That is really super exciting. And I'd like to bring up something that happened to me recently. So I was laying in bed and I heard a helicopter overhead. And at first I thought it was a low flying airplane, and it was at night. So I thought, oh, that, Boeing is trying to get in their low flying aircrafts when people won't notice it and complain, right? At night when people won't notice. But then it happened again, right? And then it happened again. And then when I saw the bright light in my backyard, I realized, okay, this is a helicopter. Something really bad is happening. So in that moment, I had a choice, right? My choice was helicopters shining lights in my yard never happens. Why is it happening today?
Yes.
They're obviously looking for someone, and they're looking for someone on my property and neighboring properties.
Yes.
That's fear inducing, right?
Yes, it's very
So what do you
disturbing.
do? Do you stay in bed shaking in fear? Well, I felt for the bat that I keep under my bed, right? Like make sure my puppy's here. I made sure all the doors were locked, right?
Great.
So I made a choice
Mm-hmm.
to not just, be in fear, but to ensure a certain level of safety. Now, I couldn't ensure absolutely my safety, right? There's
Right.
no way to ensure absolute safety.
Right.
But I did what I could, right? Made sure the doors were locked. I had my bat next to me. And then that was the end of it. The end of my the concern for my
Yes.
safety, although the
Yes.
helicopters were still round and around and around, and I heard them when I woke up. So that was a long time, right?
Yeah.
There's a moment when we should and can and look at the choices we have available. Me, lock the doors, grab the bat, and then anything else that we can't do anything about, just let it go. And that's a
Yes.
choice too.
Yes. And we've talked about this a long time ago now in the show about COVID. Like, it's just like, get some information, decide how to choose how to keep you and your family safe.
Right.
Make your choices, be informed by the information, be informed by that concern, and then separate that from fear. We have no need of fear. I mean, it can happen, but we don't need it. And we don't need to play that game. And we can just let fear come out of our space and hopefully out of our field, because it's everywhere, and away. And then just notice, okay, I'm doing this, this, and this because this seems the right thing to do for me and my family, me and my intimates. Onward. What am I going to do now to play my own game?
Yes, this is really important to understand and to put into practice, because not everyone is doing it. And people are really, really afraid. Even though we're wearing our masks, right? And then of course they're complaining about people not wearing their masks. I understand, right? We're washing our hands. We're maintaining 6 feet of distance. And what's the truth? There's no guarantee that you aren't going to get it. And there's no guarantee that you will get it.
Right.
Right? So, so then you have to let go of the rest of it, but people can't.
Yeah.
Right? People are struggling. They're not speaking to others, right? They're not letting their children communicate with other children. It's really, really hard on everyone when you don't let go of the things that you can't control and then take action on the things that you can control.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And it's just it's very disturbing. And I do want to say, we've been doing this for months now, having these conversations, which I so appreciate. And looking back, my intention has been, and I think our intention is, to share what's possible, to share some tips and tricks, to share some insights, to share, little things that can help, big things that can help. But I feel like we do not say enough that you and I offer deep learning that can't be shared through the airwaves to everybody. Like there's deep things that they can learn with us that can really help. So deep practices. So I just want to say that, like, if a lot of what we're saying is like, well, that's nice for them, but I could never do it. Right? Like there's a reason for that. Like it's not because we were born this way.
No.
I mean, you and I were both born in households where we didn't have these distinctions and there were these capacities.
All right.
Right? We had to learn them and practice them and integrate them and become a different person to be able to operate like this.
Beautifully said. We built the muscle.
Yeah.
We practiced it enough. And everybody kind of understands when they see a muscular person, right, that there was something behind it. Most people aren't just born naturally muscular, right? So when you see a muscular person, you know, in general, they've done something to develop that musculature. And what do? They practice, right? They lift or they exercise over and over and over again. And you're making a good point. That's why we're able to maintain neutrality, stay objective, and see more choices, right? We have a buffet of choices that we have available to us where other people don't. But it's because we practice. And that is something super important, practicing that we have choice, practicing that there are multiple choices, because I think a lot of people don't think there's more than just one choice. And that's where our conversation about there's a moment between stimulus and response, right? The gap that exists. So we elongate the stimulus and our response, right? We lengthen it in order to see what the choices are. And also, this is foundational. I don't know that we've mentioned it yet. We believe we have a choice.
It's the first step, right? That everyone has a choice about way more than we think is just the foundation. Yeah.
So belief has to come first.
I believe so. Maybe some people there's some people who don't like the word believe, and that's fine. It can be, a lot of those people already have it though. It's like, I have volition. Like we don't have to like believe it like we believe religion or something. It's not like that. It's just a knowing or a acceptance of the volition that's ours, or the, to get a little more philosophical, the free will that's ours.
Yes. And I really think that people don't understand that they practice believing all the time.
Yes.
You go sit down your butt in the car, close the door and put the key in, you're practicing belief that sucker's going to start.
Yes.
Right? Because if you didn't believe it, you wouldn't get in it.
Yes.
And you believe when you pull up to the gas station that there will be gas in the pump.
Yes.
And you believe every morning when you wake up that you'll open the refrigerator and there will be food waiting for you to prepare. And that you turn on the faucet and water will come out, right? There's belief. So this is a good distinction. You believe there's water in the faucet, and by lifting the handle to turn on it, you're practicing faith.
Yeah.
So there's the action and the result of that action, which is you fill your glass.
Yes, that's really great. And I totally agree with you. It's just that I've noticed that some people, particularly people who have been harmed by religion or resisting religion, and that's great, get stimulated by some of these words like belief and faith. So I just love that you're giving everyday examples, because I totally agree. And this still happens to me sometimes, but for a long time it was happening when I lived in Ballard. So say in the last 18 years, a lot of the time I'd wake up in the middle of the night, I always do, to go to the bathroom. I'd wake up and be like, wow, we're still here. All this is still here. Like there was this like, wow, kind of like, wow, this is all still here, right? This belief, like it's still here. Wow, my feet still go on the ground. Like, right? It's just like not taking it for granted. That all this is here and all this works how I think. And so it was a little bit of less belief but it let in so much wonder and appreciation.
Mm.
But still, like, I would put my feet on the floor and, stumble off to the bathroom, and right, like, I believed enough, but it was like, wow. And so I'm just showing how when we don't fully believe that, what it's like, whoa.
So perhaps actually you were noticing your belief moment by moment, right?
Yeah,
You put one foot down and it was, wow, there is a floor in front of me.
there is a floor.
You put the next foot down. Oh, I'm in a room.
Yeah,
So your belief
yeah.
was slightly different. You were noticing each moment of belief rather than
Yeah, I
sort
guess
of a
so, because
big
I
old.
believed enough to let go. And I think maybe it was for how, it was really a lot of the time I lived in Ballard. Um, and I feel like a lot of it was so much was changing in my thoughts and my behavior. I was really, really in practice, and my assumptions about who I was and what I thought the world was and what I thought spirit was or whatever. Then I feel like maybe it set up this wonder, let me, interesting. I'm not taking it for granted, but there it is. Right. So anyway, I don't know, but it really had me recognize the belief that is there, because we just take it for granted because we're humans and we're really good at taking things for granted.
Yes, we are. And with that, let's take a quick break and say thank you to our sponsors.
And thank you to our sponsor for making the show possible. Hooray!
Thank you. We're back and we're talking about belief and thoughts and behaviors and how our belief really has an influence and impact on the ways in which we think and then the subsequent actions that we take, which we call and label behaviors. And I'd like to talk a little bit about building the muscle of choice. So we talked about practice, we talked about repetition in knowing that we have a choice and then exercising choice. We talked about having the belief, believing that there actually is a choice, even if we're faced with something that seems like it's not a choice. And my choice, the choice that I choose to make, matters. And it matters to me.
Yes. And, I was thinking about something, an everyday thing I can share about this, because like I have soul tools that I practice and it really helps me build this. And I really like exercise to keep in mind that outside of us in the exercise land and fitness and inside myself is the same. It is, I'm building strength, I'm building muscle, but also endurance, also flexibility, also balance. These things are all extremely important for our physical bodies and for in our soul to be allowing all of these, not just the building of the muscle. And then also the patterns, like when we practice a martial art, or we practice bicycling, or whatever we're practicing gets in our body. And then it's ours, or guitar, anything. I'm practicing, like I've picked up guitar only a handful of times in the last few decades, but I can do it, not nearly as well as I used to, but all the chords are still there because it's in my body. I've practiced it. So anyway, I wanted to say this everyday thing that I do that really helps me with my volition, with I do what I mean to do, which is I have this practice I call 1, 2, 3. It's a kid thing. 1, 2, 3, jump. Right. So like I use it. I'm known for going in really, really cold water. I prefer to. I like it best if I go in the water and I like lose my breath. It's very exciting. It's very stimulating. I can't stay in that long when it's that cold. But like I've regularly jumped in water that has ice around the edges and stuff, like really cold. I don't do that anymore, and I live in North Carolina, so I'm not finding that. But I do this 1, 2, 3 thing, and I do it even when I go into the pool, and I do it all the time, and so I'm just used to it. And I just 1, 2, 3 jump, and I don't touch the water ahead of time. I just do it, and then I will say, don't worry about me, because I'm also listening to my body. And 1 out of 100 times my body's like, no. It happened a few times this past like February or so. I was ill and I went to, and my body's like, no. And I walked up and down the pool. I'm like, I had a conversation with my body. What is it going to take? And right. So it's like, it's not a forcing, but it's just a practice. I just do 1, 2, 3 jump. And so I'm used to it. So then when it's really freaking cold and there's disturb it, like my body's like, maybe this isn't a good idea, but it is, I'm just 1, 2, 3 jump. That's the whole thing. And so that helps me. It helped me build muscle that I use lots of other places. It's a fun thing.
Okay. So I'm going to make a suggestion for our audience. And my suggestion is they're going to do 1, 2, 3, choose. So they're going to, right? 1, 2, 3 is a little time. And then they're going to choose. And when you tell yourself something, 1, 2, 3, choose, then it has to look for what it's choosing between. So that will help them see what their choices actually are.
So that's like, it's not jumping in the pool. It's, I recognize I have a choice in this moment. I'm giving myself a breath. 1, 2, 3.
And then I'm just going to choose something. 1, 2, 3, choose.
That reminds me of this other thing I did. I don't do it so much anymore because I'm a trained soul reader. But in the old days, I would flip a coin.
Right.
When I wasn't sure, should I go left or right? I wasn't sure. And I'd flip it. And then I'd be like, what do I hope it is? I'd know when I was like, oh, I know what I hope it is.
Yes.
It really worked for me.
Yeah, I was just talking with someone who did the same thing. Her parents would let her flip a coin to make a choice. And it wasn't so that the coin would tell her what to choose. It was an opportunity for her to recognize what she wanted.
Yes.
Because she couldn't decide.
Yes.
So if you flip a coin, and if it was what she didn't want, she would say, I didn't want that. And then she knew what she did want.
It really works. I really like that one too. So these are everyday little tricks to help us get to what we want, who we want to be, and how we want to choose.
Yes.
Yeah.
And allowing yourself to change, allowing yourself to choose and allowing yourself to change. I think this is very, very difficult because our subconscious mind is set on helping us stay safe and be safe and continue living in safety. Yes. But safety requires that we don't change.
Yes. I teach this a long time, and it's all about change and blah, blah, blah. And it sounds so good, but I have to admit, I hate change. I hate it. I don't want to get in the shower. I don't want to get out of the shower. I don't want to get into the bed. I don't want to get out. That's just my life, right? So I'll just admit it right here. Like, change is hard for me. Some people seem to like it. I don't. I'm all about inertia. Just leave me alone. But I've found that it really helps me, right? Michael does this thing, Pomodoros, which are like a thing that's happening in some worlds these days, where he works 25 minutes on a particular thing, and then the bell rings and he does 5 minutes of moving around and letting the body move because it's good for bodies to move. Yes. Right? And then goes back to it. And I hate it. I'm just like, I just got into it. Don't mess with my flow, baby. But it's really good for me because bodies like to move, right? Yes. So I just want to honor that change is awesome and it serves us, but we might not, all of our parts might not enjoy it. And it's okay. I can listen to the part of me that doesn't want to stop. I hear you. I don't want to stop, but we're going to go walk around the block and we're going to like that too. And right. Then we're going to come back and focus again, which gives me a more healthy, balanced life.
That was a beautiful segue into our last point, which is do what's good for you. Make the choices that benefit you, right? If you don't want to stop after 25 minutes, then you can take a break after 45 minutes, right? Yeah. Nobody said this is the way you absolutely have to do it. It's just a test.
Right.
Like you said, you don't toe dip before your 1, 2, 3 jump, right?
Right.
And for you, you don't toe dip, but for someone else, they might need to.
Oh yeah. I'm not saying they have to do it. I'm a little hardcore about this.
Yeah. But the point is, our last point is that know what's good for you, right? Know what is beneficial for you. Know what you need to do in order to make the changes, in order to see your choices. You can try our little framework, 1, 2, 3, choose, and see what comes up. You're going to choose chocolate or vanilla. Are you going to choose go outside or stay inside?
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter what the choice is, but that you recognize that you have a choice.
Yes.
You have multiple choices. What would you like to say in our last few minutes?
This has been a really great conversation. I would like to kind of review what we've talked about. So let's do it together if we can. So the first kinds of things we were talking about that are important, I feel like, is that believe we have a choice.
Yes.
That even though sometimes it feels like we don't.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next is also around believing that, like, in general, the first one was in general, we have a choice, but actually I have a choice. I have a choice in this moment, like, and my choices matter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then
practicing to choose, right?
Building
the muscle. And I love that you mentioned, it's not just about building muscle. And that's a very good point, because we often don't know what goes into building muscle, right? We see the superheroes or we see the actors that are all, big and buff, but people don't understand they have to eat in order to grow that muscle. When a muscle moves, one end moves, but the other end has to be stationary. Otherwise, it can't be built, right?
Yes.
There is smaller stabilizing muscles and the tendons have to accommodate change, and you have to increase the circulation to that area, right? There are so many things, and you have to stay in balance, especially if you've got a weight.
Right.
If you've got a weight in one arm, right, that could throw you off balance. So your body is designed specially to hold yourself in balance against that type of imbalance situation. And we didn't even talk about resistance. So maybe that's something for next time. But
for next time.
Practice choosing, practice building the muscle of choice and all the little things that go along with it, which is believing you have a choice, knowing that your choices are important and that they matter. And then, of course, allow yourself to just be in the choice. Whatever choice you made, just be with that choice for a while. Even if you don't like it, even if you decide that's not the best choice, be with that choice and question, why did you make this choice and not the other one? And just see what you discover. So allow it. And the last one is know what you need. Know the choices you need to make.
Making choices that works for me.
Yeah. Whether you need a toe dip or not a toe dip.
Right. And there's no right or wrong about it.
Right. It's just you. It's all you.
It's all you. Awesome.
Thanks, Wendy. I so appreciate your time. And to our audience, thank you for being here with us today. If this message has spoken to you, please tell us what's on your heart by leaving us a comment. And for more information and how to continue the journey to live by heart, please go to our website, livebyhearttoday.com. We'd love it if you would like and follow this page and turn on the notifications so you don't miss any. We air every Thursday at 4:44 Pacific. And next week, we'll continue our conversation about relationship. From our heart to yours, and creating a better tomorrow, because we live by heart today.
And that concludes this portion of
Live by Heart Today!
Thank you for watching. View more episodes on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's give a shout out to our sponsors. Thank you, We Are Storically, for making this show possible.